I didn't become a millionaire by making some brilliant investment or because I suddenly started earning six figures. Looking back, it was actually the tiny habits I repeated over and over for years and years that built my wealth. And the crazy thing is, most of them were pretty boring. Today, I'm sharing the 12 tiny habits that helped me become a millionaire by 40. And I think number 12 is the one that people skip over the most often, so make sure and stick around until the very end. I invested my money before I had a chance to spend it. I set up an automatic transfer from my paycheck to my investment account directly into the investment that I wanted to make. So I didn't have to think about investing my money or take the time to invest my money. It was all automated. And I feel like that makes a huge difference when we can take ourselves out of the equation and just have it run in the background. I never became wealthy because I had huge amounts of money sitting around or because I had a rich uncle who gave me all of his life savings after passing away. It was just me taking small amounts every single month over a longer period of time and investing that amount to create wealth in the background. I invested in my 401k, getting my company match. I had my brokerage account set up. I had that automated as well. I still do automatic investing today. So it makes a huge difference. And I just let it grow. I let it compound over time exponentially. I tracked my money instead of avoiding it. I liked seeing how much money was coming in and I liked knowing where it was going. And this can be done pretty simply. I like using a free app. It's called Empower. I'll leave a link below if you're interested. But you can hook all of your financial accounts to Empower. And that way you can just log in very quickly into Empower and see where your money's going, how much is coming in, make sure that your bills are being paid. And you can actually see your net worth in there. So you can watch that grow over time. In the beginning, I had a spreadsheet. And actually, when I very first started, I had just this pink graph paper and I would just write down all of my transactions. And I don't have to do that anymore, and neither do you. Unless that works for you, then by all means, write it out. But knowing where all of my money was going helped me build wealth, helped me become a millionaire because I wasn't afraid to look at my money. I knew what I was spending money on. And if I saw that I was spending a lot in one area, then I could switch that up and make changes that I needed to be making. Most people think about budgeting as, okay, this is what I can spend this month. I can't go over. They feel like it's very restricting. But for me, I personally like calling a budget a spending plan. And it's just helping me know where I'm spending my money. And that way I can adjust. I look at it and think, okay, I'm spending this amount in this area. I'm spending this much on eating out, this much on clothing, whatever it is. Where do I need to adjust so that I can invest more of my money or I can put more into my travel fund, right? We can just make adjustments as we go. But if we don't actually know what we're spending our money on, how much is coming in, then how are we going to know where to improve? We won't. So, what gets tracked gets measured and improved. Another tiny habit is that I lived below my means even when I could afford more. I wanted to live below my means. I wanted to have extra to invest. And when I was first saving my money, I wanted to build up an emergency fund in case something bad happened. Then I would have the money to pay for that emergency. And while we are talking about building up our emergency fund, just one quick tip I want to give you is to keep that money in a high yield savings account. By doing this one thing, you are going to create even more money and become a millionaire even faster. I have a link below to some great options for savings accounts. I hardly ever went out to eat when I had my 9 to 5 for lunch. I would bring my lunch to work 99% of the time. I would rather save up for a trip or invest that money, whatever it was. I just didn't want that higher car payment or that higher rent payment or even a mortgage payment, whatever it was. I kept my expenses low, and that way I had more money to spend on things that I wanted to be spending my money on without being frivolous. Another tiny habit that I realized I did was that I was spending money on assets instead of just things. I saved up for a down payment on an investment property, and I was able to purchase that investment property, that asset. And that way, once I purchased that and had a renter in there, I was able to collect income every month from that renter. Rentals are not completely passive, but it is semi passive. And I was able to build my wealth astronomically by doing that. Not only did I have rental properties, but I also had roommates. And also, I was spending money on things that were helping to improve my own skill set, increase my knowledge. And that way, I wasn't just buying more clothes or shoes. Of course, I did buy a lot of that. And as the years go by, I learn and learn, and we continue to improve. But nonetheless, I wasn't going into credit card debt, spending a ton of money on clothing or things that weren't going to make me money. I actually read Rich Dad Poor Dad quite a few years ago, and that had a huge impact on me because he talked about investing in assets and then the money you are making from those assets, then you could buy your liabilities, things that are going to cost you money. If you wanted to upgrade your car, well, great. First, buy a rental property, start collecting that rental income, and then when you're collecting whatever the amount is, we'll just say $700 a month. Then if you wanted to upgrade your car and have a $700 payment for your car loan, then you could do that because your asset is paying for that liability. We don't want to do that the other way around. We don't want to buy the fancy car and then think, oh, I should really buy a rental property, right? We want to switch that so that our assets can pay for our liabilities. A simple, tiny money habit that you can do is to learn about money every single week. I actually have a friend that's a really good mentor. He is very successful with real estate, very successful in the stock market. And I asked him a ton of questions about investing in real estate and about investing in the stock market. And by learning about money and investing, I was able to take those principles that he was teaching me and apply them in my own life. I was able to purchase a rental property and multiple rental properties and my own property. And I didn't grow up in a home where investing was taught. My parents are very good at saving money, and they taught me to be frugal. And I remember being told, Tiffany, turn off the lights when you leave the room constantly, right? They taught me those principles of how important it is to save your money and not live beyond your means. And today I still continue to learn about money and learn about optimizing our lives so that we can live the lives we want to and have the money to be able to afford to do that. Avoiding lifestyle inflation is another tiny habit. And this kind of goes along with the other habit. But this one is more about when you're comparing yourself to others, to the Joneses, if you will, or to your neighbors or your friends, and seeing them all upgrade their cars, upgrade their clothing, their handbags, whatever it might be. And then you also doing the same. So when you get a raise, instead of investing that money that is coming from your raise, you start to spend that money on these little upgrades. And by avoiding that lifestyle inflation, I was able to become a millionaire. If I just took my bonus every time I got one at work and I don't know, spend it on whatever, and it didn't even mean anything, instead of investing some of that. And I don't have to invest all of it. I can invest a portion of it and then take a trip or have some sort of experience. But I was aware of the money that I was receiving. And when I had an increase in my income, I was able to put that money to work rather than just completely spending it all and not even remembering where it went. I made big decisions based on long term goals instead of short term goals. Investing in real estate is not for a short term goal, unless you're doing a fix and flip and you just want that cash quick, that's different. I invest for the long term. I do buy and hold rental properties. I'm not going to create hundreds of thousands of dollars within a year. I'm going to create that amount over the years. These are planned out investment strategies. And I also invest in the stock market. And there were a few times where I wanted to make a quick win. And so I invested in a certain company and sold it shortly thereafter, after creating an increase. But as time went on, I thought, that's not the best strategy. So I set longer term goals and now I invest in the stock market and continue to invest in the stock market. And it has built my wealth over the years because I had that longer term focus. I wasn't just focused on making a quick win, making a few $1,000s overnight or whatever it might be. And then also investing in my own skill set. This is very valuable. The more I can increase my skill set, the better I can become, and the more valuable. We're all valuable. We all have divine worth. And so I'm not saying anything negative here. I'm just saying if we have a better skill set, people are willing to pay more for our skills, right? So investing in my skill set takes a lot of time, right? I have to learn a lot of different skills, and skills can complement each other, but it's not an overnight thing. It's a process, it's the long term game. And the more we can build our skills, then the more money we are going to be able to make. And that way we can invest that money. Building multiple income streams is another tiny habit that I created to be able to become a millionaire at age 40. And again, this didn't just happen overnight. I started small. I started with my 401k when I had my 9 to 5 job. And then I started investing in the stock market in my own brokerage account, in my own Roth IRA. Then I started investing in real estate. I then started my own business and invested in that. And then I have affiliate income and I became an Amazon influencer. There's just a lot of different ways that I can make money now. And when we're starting out, I feel like we really want to focus on one income stream and get that going. And that can be a 9 to 5 job. We just want to make sure that we are increasing our skill set, becoming more valuable to the company, and asking for raises. And if we're not getting the amount that we want, then we look elsewhere. But that's a huge income stream right there. And a lot of people think, oh, I really need to, I don't know, be making money over here on the side, creating all these side hustles, but they haven't really focused on their main income stream, on growing that one. So definitely start there and then you can expand later. This tiny habit is a little bit different. I took care of my health. And I feel like that has made a big difference as well. And I know there are extreme circumstances, and we aren't able to control all of the health related things that might happen to us or that might run in our family. We can start to take control of the things that we can control. Hopefully that makes sense. I want to be healthy. I like going for walks. I love going to Zumba. I love teaching Zumba toning. I love hiking and I love drinking water. There's just all of these little things that I do that help me improve my health. And I know this may not sound like it's related to money, but it is. When we're able to take these little steps to improve our health, it's going to help us have a clearer mind so that we can focus on improving our wealth, on growing our wealth. If we are so stressed about different medical issues that we might have, and we're constantly just worrying about things, and not getting outside, not exercising, not moving our bodies, we are not going to be as happy as we could be. And I feel like that is going to take a toll on us. If we are not feeling healthy, then we aren't going to feel like we can actually improve our money situation. Another small habit is to create before you consume. This is one thing I try to do in my own business. There are so many different influencers out there, so much content on social media. We can really get sucked in and spend hours just consuming content. But I really like to focus on creating content first, and I'm not perfect at it. But if we can focus on creating that content, we are going to be able to grow our business and increase our income. But if we're just spending so much time consuming content that we aren't getting stuff done, that we aren't putting content out there, we're not going to be able to grow our businesses or be able to increase our income. So we really want to focus on creating before consuming. We can ask ourselves, what do I want to create instead of what do I want to buy? There was a point in my life where I became pretty comfortable with where my income was, where things were, and I really thought about it and I thought, although I'm comfortable, I don't feel very fulfilled. So I kept learning even after I felt comfortable. And that way I was able to start my new blog, thrivingwithtiff.com, and I was able to get back into my YouTube channel. I am learning more about AI and how to utilize that in my business to make things run more efficiently. There are skills that I continue to learn today, even though I feel like I have learned a lot of things over the years. It is one way that helped me become a millionaire at age 40. I didn't want to just sit back and do nothing all day, lounge around in the backyard, on the couch, watch I don't even know what. Making content, creating things really helps me feel fulfilled. I can create new courses. I can still do financial coaching. I can create ebooks. I can write a book or another book. These skill sets help me to become a millionaire by not just staying comfortable where I was. So, just having that mindset of learning and growth is a really big factor in building your wealth. The tiny habit of staying consistent over the long term is huge. People often overlook this. They think, oh, my wealth isn't growing. It's been a few months. And actually, my net worth dropped because the stock market tanked. Or they just think, oh, it's not worth it to continue to improve my skill set. But if we are able to stay consistent and set up our investing, build up our emergency fund, continue forward, invest in real estate again and again and again, or invest in the stock market over and over and over, or continue to learn a new skill, then learn another skill and another and another and another. We are going to build our wealth over time. This one helped me become a millionaire at age 40 because I didn't give up in the beginning. I didn't start out with a net worth of just under a million. I started out with $0, right? But then when I had my first paycheck, maybe I had $100. I don't know what it was, but it was a very small amount. And if I just thought, oh, there's no way I'll get to a million, why even bother trying? Then I wouldn't get there, right? We wouldn't get there if we never tried and if we never stayed consistent. So, consistency is key here to growing our net worth to $1 million and beyond. Let me know in the comments which tiny money habit you are going to work on today. I am curious to know. And if you found this content helpful, make sure and hit that subscribe button. That will really help my channel out. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.